Thank you, Nora. If you get too uncomfortable, we're recording this, by the way. So if you do want to turn your camera off, I understand. But I really embrace seeing people's faces because we want to create the intimacy of what we're doing. We're not just doing a webinar talking at you. We're inviting you to be, you're part of the journey with us.
So for those of you,
say the crystal rose. All right.
So for those of you who do want to participate, but if someone is already speaking, I invite you to take advantage of the group chat and chime in any love and support so that it doesn't disrupt the actual artist talk. Okay.
And then save your questions and conversations because we'd love to hear them at the end. And the first leg is going to go about an hour and 20 minutes. Okay, I think I would like us to start. So Ahran, do you want to just talk about the recording and what we just said, but I guess collectively together?
Yes, so as you can see at the top left of your Zoom screen, you'll see live YouTube, meaning what we are recording right now is being streamed live on YouTube. So if that makes you feel uncomfortable, please mute your videos, mute your mics, that is up to you. And we are also recording this over Zoom for posterity. So please know that, and we'll go ahead and start.
Yeah, and the YouTube is not public, it's actually unlisted. We'll make it public later after we are done. So I'm going to go ahead and start. And first of all, thank you for being here. You're part of this journey. You're not just observers. You're actually feeding into the healing journey that we've been on. And we're calling this awareness is curative, because the more you wake up, we know the more you can heal yourself. Okay. All right, there's some like tech things going on with my computer. I never have problems. Okay, so honoring native land. Before we start, I just want to say place is based in San Francisco, which is Ramaytush Ohlone land. And this is really important for those of you who haven't done this, and some of you already are, is to make sure you're aware of the land that you're on, because it wasn't discovered. It still should be owned by these indigenous tribes. And the one thing you can do is learn and donate. And one of the easiest organizations I know of right now is the United States Department of Arts and Culture, which is a nonprofit, it's not government. And they have a whole section done by their indigenous artists. It's artists all over the United States that you can join this for different reasons for social justice, but they have native ways to do this. And they even have artwork that indigenous artists have done that I used in this, and the colonization is still ongoing. And then I also wanted to acknowledge organizations that have been with us for a long time. The Boys and Girls Club of San Francisco just gave us a grant to continue our work. I want to thank Chris Matos, who gave us so many photos to work with, and Susan Almazal has been our presentation guide. And then always dedicate this to Janet, Diana, and Sue, my mother, who have passed, but they're place angels for us. So I just want to ask, this is in a nutshell. We're going to just explain what happens when you gather tools of awareness. And through place, we do this through art making, turning on our imagination, intuition, and sharing stories. And we believe that chronic heartache can be transformed to resilience. And it's what we live. So today, I'm going to give you a background on place, brief overview, and how I came up with it, how it came to be. Then the place, we call them eldership. They're women who've gone through the program and are still engaged. And then around 3:20 or so, we're going to take a break and have you bring a cup of tea or coffee or some food. and chat with us together. So place of our own, the biggest question has always been since day one in 2009 was, if you had a place of your own, what would it be? And that's actually a practice answering that is self-agency. So quickly, the language we're using, I wanted to give you a couple of definitions so you know what we're talking about. We're considered a trauma-informed program and philosophy, and my choice to use trauma is, the definition is what happens inside you as a coping mechanism for something that happened to you. So trauma is not the thing that happened to you. Trauma is what happens inside you, how you end up coping with it and your family through the ages. And we actually talk about colonization, patriarchy, etc. Like these are big epic things, but they do affect your family and your family patterns. And then hungry ghost is a broad ancient term that we use. And it's about, for the broad Asian terms, they're talking about insatiable spirits that wander the earth and they're never satisfied and they're never happy. But we're using it to talk about thoughts that we all have that lead to chronic heartache. And we look at beliefs that hold you back, your internal stories. And so the other thing is artists and art. So we believe everybody is a born artist, period, end of subject. It doesn't matter if you went to school. If you go to school, it's to learn to make commodities that will sell. That doesn't mean you're an artist, but that means you learned a skill. But we believe everybody is an artist, and place uses found object art materials that you find discarded or unwanted, and you create work out of that. So everybody can make art. That's our belief. And that art is anything that is made with thought. This is just an example. This is a necklace my mom made. And if you look at it, you can see the McDonald's coffee stir sticks here. She saved those for a long time, and then she turned them into this really beautiful necklace. And she even asked permission of McDonald's, and they gave it to her. And then the last term I wanted to make you aware of is that eldership. We're using that instead of leadership. We feel like leadership is too narrow a Western word, and that the eldership is about feminine leadership, whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter, but it's a commitment to self-healing. And over time, learning to share the wisdoms that you've developed with your community to help community. So where did place come from? Well, I am a painter, and my paintings tend to predict my future. And sometimes I feel like they tell me what I have to do. It took me a while to figure that out, but I got it. So this painting, over time, I've done 5 versions of this, and it's become very iconic for me. And the title is Pull. And when I first did this is back in my 30s, I'm now 64. This told me that I needed to stop being a doormat, people pleaser. I needed to get off the floor. And over time, this has also helped me understand that one of my roles in the world is to try to help women own their importance and what they bring to the planet. And otherwise, if we don't stand up, we're just going to keep cycling through patriarchy. We're not going to get ahead. Another painting that was iconic and is iconic for me is this woman crawling on the floor. And when I was painting it, I didn't know what it meant. And the rice came later. And what it ended up telling with the title, Anthropologic Dig, this painting told me that I need to research my history, my internal self. I need to look at what makes me me and what brings me upset, what causes my triggers. And also it told me that I need to look at my ancestral heritage, my cultural heritage for answers. And I don't even know what the questions are. Okay, it's not forwarding. So in 2009, at the De Young Museum, I got an artist in residency, and I decided to ask these women artists on the top right to come in and talk about if they had a place of their own, what would it be? And these are all found object artists, and they created work that talked about what they aspired to in their life. However, most of them, it took them 25 days to figure it out and they still didn't figure it out. My mom had a hard time because you had to claim something. You had to think you were worth something. And a lot of them had to talk about trauma and some negative family things that happened before they could come out the other side. And that gave me the idea that we need to keep having these kind of discussions. So the place of our own basics is basically I try to use art making, and we use a lot of discussion to excavate and challenge status quo. And for me, that's the visual arts is the only way I've been able to do it. So family patterns and beliefs that hold you back, to look at those. And then we actually do intuitive art making, very specific kind of art to release those patterns, very simple art actually, as visual meditations. And then the alumni eldership is really important. I knew early on, even though I didn't have words for it, that I wanted to keep the women that wanted to keep coming back and stay in circle and community. I wanted a way to do that, and we're doing it now. And you're part of that today. Like, you're participating in their eldership development by just being here online with us. So the generational family patterns and beliefs that hold you back, how did I come with that? And for me, that's been the foundation to my healing, is to keep looking at that. And that came out of me in my 30s. I finally got fed up with dating the wrong guys, like abusive, dominant men, bullies. And I don't know, I couldn't figure out what the pattern was because my parents never fought. And my dad was very kind and gentle to my mom. Matter of fact, they didn't talk enough, but that's a whole Chinese story, silence. But I know they enjoyed each other's company. So the only thing I could see was my mom's brothers and sisters. Some of them were married often to different abusive men and women. And even my cousins, some of them have been with abusive or dominant partners. So I started to look at my grandmother as the answer. And I didn't know it, and my mom didn't know it, but we went and saw her interrogation papers over at the National Archives by the San Francisco airport. So any Chinese person that came through Angel Island in the early half of the 1900s, only the Chinese got interrogated, which they got imprisoned and interrogated before they were either let on or turned away. And my grandmother was there for 3 months. And then I found out that her husband, my grandfather, went and bought her as a second wife because his first wife died, but she was still the second wife. He was privileged son of the land supervisor for Leland Stanford. So he was privileged, but he went and bought my grandmother, and I didn't know this until I saw the interrogation papers, and he met her 2 days before they sold her to him. And then he didn't buy her a passenger ticket. He bought her a steerage ticket, which is the cargo. So learning that story, I started to make art around her. I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but I was releasing the patterns. And when I painted this portrait, I cried the whole time I painted it, especially if you look at her eyes when I was painting her eyes. And I really believe that I released something by doing this. Almost, if you suspend your rational mind, I feel like I time traveled. So I healed her past, which in turn healed myself and hopefully healed generations to come. I know I'm thinking really big, but why not? So I kept making things. These are little 2-inch high pillows, and I put these in art installations, and they've gone from the East and West Coast and even into Chicago, where I tell the story to honor her, to tell the stories of her hardships. So I'm working on family patterns here, but I don't have words for it yet. In the meantime, I paint this painting, and this painting told me, I didn't know at first because it's very odd. There's dress forms coming out of the back of her dress. But the title, a lot of times my titles finish the work. Launching the Gifts to me says that you are here to serve community. But the solidity of this dress, which is actually based on a Vera Wang wedding dress, told me that I have to keep healing myself so that I can be the most solid person I can be while I'm leaving behind gifts of support for communities and people that need it. So that told me that this A Place of Our Own it's something that I'm destined to do. And then if you think back about my grandmother and starting to look at the family patterns, at that same time, I had a corporate job, and they brought in this psychologist, Sylvia Lafair, who is still in touch with me after so many years later. But her tenet was, what happens at the dining table happens at the conference table if you don't work to resolve it. So that's where place came in for me. And I started sharing this family pattern work and looking. This is 1890 Bryant, my art studio in San Francisco, where we hosted place programs pre-pandemic, and hopefully we'll go back there and use the space for healing. But this was a 2018 cohort we did. A lot of group discussion. And here, Emily Yamauchi, who's actually one of the speakers today, this is her talking about her family patterns. And what I've seen over the years is if you you could do a simple map, or you can do a very complicated one. But once you start mapping in the patterns of trauma in your family, whether it's addiction, violence, mental illness, you start to see that a lot of the things that you struggle with are actually just repeated patterns. And once you do that, once you really understand that, you start to have compassion, forgiveness, and acceptance of yourself, which is to me is the foundation of healing. But then you're also starting to able to have it for other people, because you realize your family's doing the best they can. It might not be great, but they're wounded as well. So that's one of the big things that we work on. So the other thing that I'm really convinced of is that my art has become meditations for me, for my aspirations, or for things I want to heal through. And this was a really risky triptych for me, where I painted everything with heavy pink, and I just got nervous that I was going to be criticized for this. This is in 2017, but I actually wrote, back then I didn't think I had value, and I kept feeling like I was imposter, or I was imposing on people. That's the big one. So even though I'm doing these healing programs, I still feel like I was imposing on people, and I knew I need to heal that. So I wrote on here, I'm loved and lovable, I'm valued and valuable, and that's from Louise Hay's book. But I found this really worked for me to embrace my self-worth, or my value. So then I started to figure out, how could I help other people even try this idea, especially if you're not, I'm not a trained artist. I taught myself how to paint, but if you don't do that kind of art, let's use found objects and do collage and whatever. And that helps to release the hungry ghosts, those old beliefs, while creating visual meditations for yourself. But found objects actually helps you practice to like what you like take photos of things you love looking at, or picking up things in the workroom that people are throwing away that are really cool. It teaches you self-agency in an unusual way. So this is probably one of the biggest found object things I did. And this is a storefront in Chinatown for the Arts Commission, and it was up for 3 years. It was so cool. But I used a lot of Chinese takeout boxes and things that even the store owner was contributing things for me to add to this piece. And then one of the examples I have for the found object project through A Place of Our Own is, again, if you had a place of your own, what would it be? And what Janet did here is she had not, her mother forbade her to do art when she was 4. So here she is at 64. And I was hoping it was true that when I said, once you have your intention, the objects will come to you. And normally I take people to Scrap or to Salvation Army or to Urban or to places that have a lot of found objects. But this time I just had to trust they would find their own way, because it was the pandemic. And Janet found this prescription box at her doctor's office. And then in the middle of really busy expressway, I think it was Martin Luther King, somebody had just cut some trees down or something right when she was there, and she was in the meridian between all this traffic going both ways, and she found all these branches. And she wanted to make a Lumbee cabin, which is out of South Carolina. her traditional Lumbee cabins are made out of wood, logs. And it's just miraculous that she found it. And she created her place of her own as a time machine that you could go into and experience your life pre-colonization, pre-slavery, pre-patriarchy. It was lovely. And bless her heart, Janet passed 2 years ago. But she said she's an artist now, which is wonderful. So Plays keeps evolving based on intuition of myself and all the like the artists that you're going to hear from today. It just keeps evolving, and I'm allowing it to do that because that's the only way. But my wish for Plays is here with this painting's about 9 feet wide and about 7 feet high. And it's the beginning of a series of paintings where I'm hoping, just vibrationally, I think I'm just putting it out into the world that I want women and anybody aligned with women or just feminine energy, it doesn't even matter about gender, that we learn to come together, to share, to speak, to support each other and be supported, because we've lost how to do that. You know, since we don't have tribes or small communities, it's really tough. But I get really sad when I see women competing with each other, tearing each other down. So I feel like this group that you're going to see today is actually living my aspiration, my dream, because we had 3 practice sessions leading up till today. And the final session on Sunday, I just sat back and watched them coach each other. They're not professional speakers, although Ahran is. They're not professional speakers, but they wanted to share their stories with you. And they accepted critiques from each other just lovingly. And I was like, God, we just have to show people how to do this because it's so wonderful. It made me cry, actually. So that's the eldership I'm talking about. They're getting to this place where they can work together in a real, authentic way and growing that eldership. And then growing that eldership leads to advocacy for our communities. And you're going to hear about that today, especially with a project that Paz and I got a grant to work on together. You'll hear about that. The other thing, because I've been in the arts community for so long, I get invited to do things as an advisor or as a speaker, but now I can bring any of the place women around who are ready to also speak on these platforms, like the DeYoung Legion of Honor Museum. I did a presentation for them, and that did reach people all over the world, although it was only a couple people in other parts of the world, but still it's permanently on their website, on their YouTube website. But I brought a couple of the 3 of the Place sisters along with me to talk about their healing journey. They actually let us talk about our ancestral healing. And then the National Guild for Community Arts Education, again, I was an advisor on there, and then we presented some workshops, and also I think Reyna presented something as well on her own. And then I always get invited to lecture at the colleges and at the universities. So again, another platform for the Place eldership to grow. And then today you're part of that eldership and self-agency development by being part of the talks. When we can, there'll be exhibitions, and we're piloting workshops on Zoom and hybrid. So this is, I'll let Paz talk about this more, but we are developing something for the Central Valley, which is in huge need of healing projects that are simple and full of heart. And then the YouTube recordings like this, you can actually access YouTube recordings from many, many years and get ideas of what you can do for yourself or even in your own community. And then this, just lastly, another miracle has shown up. Contadora Wine, which is about storytellers. This woman is just starting this end of her winery, and she's putting forward women who help community. So I feel really blessed that she chose me, but 10% of the profits will go to Place. So if you need cool Christmas gifts this year, contadorawine.com would be a great thing to do. And she actually puts our stories there. She takes us on the road via Zoom to share the stories, and I get to share about Place and women's healing. So that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Ahran, and again, around 3:20, I think, more or less, we will reconvene after the artist talk. So Ahran, do you want to just take it from here?
Yeah, thank you so much, Cynthia, for setting the tone for our artist talk today. So we're going to transition into the actual artist talks now. That'll be about an hour or so. And then once that is done, we'll take a 10-minute break where you get to check your devices, have a stretch break, go get some tea and snacks and do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start, and we'll have our first artist on the stage, and her name is Emily Yamauchi. So let's give her all the love and support and have her take up space today.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Ahran. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, all the Place sisters and everyone who showed up today. I'm really excited to share with you my journey with Place, and specifically my journey since Place ended. Share my screen. Okay, so what you're seeing on the stage, the screen right now, is a project that we did called Love Letter to Myself, which is a love letter that I wrote to my child self. But as I was putting this talk together, I realized that this entire artist talk I'm doing today is a love letter to myself. So that is kind of how I'm seeing this. And I came to Place in January of 2020. And at the time, I had been working for a while on my own healing journey by myself. But I had reached a point where I felt like I've gone as far as I can go on my own. And now I want to do it in community with other women who are doing the same thing I'm doing and who are like-minded. And I think that's really important in order to go on this journey, because healing doesn't happen on your own. It happens in community. So what I wanted to talk about today was this journey. And to symbolize this, this is a picture of my traveling altar. So this is an altar that I take with me whenever I leave town, wherever I go. If I'm in an unfamiliar place, I have these touchstones that remind me of who I am and where I'm going at all times. So when I was maybe leading up to the first artist talk that we do at the end of Place, I had to contend with this fear that when the structure of this journey, when the structure of the classes ends, what is it going to look like on the other side? What is it going to look like for me? Basically, like, am I going to feel like this birthed baby out in the world, and now I have to do it on my own, where I had the support of my sisters this whole time? And there are two things that I really realized. One was that I was never alone. The great thing about Place is that this continues with everybody. So just because the classes have ended does not mean that we're on our own now. And, I might have other communities in the future that I take with me on this healing journey. I think it's important to realize that the more you share about what you're going through, the more you take people with you. And that becomes the way that you continue your own healing as well. And the other thing that I realized was the most important thing about this journey is my awareness of myself. So what I mean by this is I noticed that in real time, I was noticing what I'm responding to, how I'm reacting, how I feel about myself, and then making decisions based on those things. And this is really huge for me because I wasn't always able to recognize how I'm feeling in the moment. So one of the things that we did during place that was really helpful was making these chakra cards that I'm about to show you. So I spent a lot of time with the 4th, 5th, and 6th chakras. And the 4th chakra is the heart chakra. These cards I made with found objects and things that I've illustrated also. So this represents to me how I really learned to lean into like self-love and compassion for myself, to really be aware of how I'm feeling at all times. And the reason this is so important is because this lets me know that wherever I'm at, everything is okay. Like however I'm feeling is always okay. And this made me feel like my life has relaxed and opened up. And it's also allowed me to really explore and blossom creatively and come up with a new relationship to creativity that has nothing to do with productivity. And I also spent a lot of time thinking about what is my vision. And so I want to share with you something that came to me after a meditation, and I wrote down some notes. A wooden fence in a field, like a horse corral, and me standing in the middle of it.
1 minute.
Sometimes the gate is open, and I let me, my energy, things, ideas, influence I create go out into the world. But my body still stays here inside the corral, where I'm protected by anything that may try to come in. This is okay. This is enough, isn't it? It feels safer, but it also feels like a prison. I want it to not exist, but I also don't want to leave it either. Then something like a sonic boom, an unseen energy force, flattens the fence to the ground in an instant. The air seizes all around me, and then it's quiet, still. Open plains have always frightened me. Nothingness as far as the eye can see. I'm in the middle of one now, no fence, nothing. I imagine a bum rush of energies hurtling towards me, like spirits descending, like animals who've picked up the scent and are answering a wild call. Terror, but also a surge of something else. I am not devoured. Right before they reach me, they fall away. And I realize I don't need the fence. I have me. I don't need it to keep things out or to keep me in the same small spot. What would happen if I walked out into the open? And that's me walking out into the open. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's all give love to Emily.
And next we have Reyna.
Wow. Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. As I transition to my screen. Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Emily. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, great. Um, so, Wow, that gave me chicken skins, Emily. Thank you. So I'm Mylene. Also introducing myself as r.a.d Leng, and with many blessed gifted names, including Reyna, as my sister's place knows me. I'll be sharing about me, myself, and I through visuals and words as it explains what place has been for me living with post-double mild traumatic brain injury. So welcome to Hella's sacred space, and I'm sharing an image of one of my chakra cards that I created during our place group in the amazing year of 2020, and then also remembering our place sister Janet King, who came up with the Hella sacred term, and in just the memory of her, I shared this. I'll be sharing a poem that's inspired from Norma Carrera's Black Calculus, and it is called Brown Calculus. Or calculus, it means a buildup. And introducing numbers in Visayan, my parents' native tongue speak. So brown calculus number 1, usa. How many masks must I wear to stay away from the eyes of those without vision, without senses? Why bother to break apart my lips? Must I talk the next step? Brown calculus number 2, duha. How hard do I have to work to soar beyond waking dreams and be granted belonging, safeguarded with warm hugs? Brown calculus number 3, tulo. Shaken souls loving, living in progress. Request for compassionate patience, passionately playful greeting, mabuhay, hi, hi. Brown calculus number 4, upat. The black hole exploits invisible boundaries. How dare you ask for more than what you have taken and less than what you give? And these are an image from the Hungry Ghost activity from our past workshops. The next poem is A Little Girl That Could, written when baby girl with a rainbow in her heartstream of a rainbow world canoe was set on its first water canoe test, but she got shaken brain scared. A thin white shoestring she held and tied without much of a thought on a 23-foot long dugout vessel. As a teddy bear is to a small child on its first away from home trip, a little anchor of safety as the concussed brain's PTSD took a gripping hold over them. Peace is every step. So they invited twins, patience, and understanding, because a little white string, even for just that moment, was a life jacket. And that was what a place of her own was. It gave me tools, it gave me community and a safe, supportive place for grounding that I'm still unraveling and using today. It was a very special time of community with beloved sisters in solidarity and healing and sisterhood. I'm going to be sharing a couple more pieces as I wrap up my time with you. And I thank you for listening. Perhaps it doesn't matter that my shirt is inside out. My outsides are okay, they say. My brown Raggedy Ann insides are all right despite my achy head. It's just pieces of clothing for going inside and out. The functional neurologist explains that the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn is amped up decibels beyond the galaxy. I am outside and inside out, and I'm taking the step to understand that I am a great example of how to live a life. Having some technical issues here. Humility faced face to face, a GoFundMe initiated to go find me and go fun me. A returning, a splash of tears bounced out of the good eye like a gushing dam of clogged up islander immigrants' emotions from 500 plus years of forced servitude under patriarchal oppressions. A gush of wonderment during COVID-19 pandemic times. A Buy Nothing Group's prize received with no exchanges required. Humanity revisited. This is just the beginning.
1
Ako di
minute.
ay si Reyna ang lipay daw dyan. I am Reyna ang lipay daw dyan. Thank you for that reminder. And thank you to all of my teachers, including the December 26, 2017 car accident that redirected the path of my purpose. Awakening and awareness is curative. And deep gratitude for Monk, Cynthia, Tom, and all of my place sisters and loved ones for letting me share this with you today. Thank you. And I'm going to pass it on to Paz. Love you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's all give Reyna some love. Thank you, love. Okay. Now we have Paz. Please take the spotlight.
Do I take the spotlight or do you put me in the spotlight?
Both.
Okay. If you could pin me, that would be great. Thank you, Ahran.
Your pin.
Okay, because I still see everybody. Okay, so thank you for coming out. My name is Patricia Zamora. I go by Paz, and I was born and raised. Let me share my screen. Let me do that before I start. Can you all see it? Cool. Okay. So my name is Paz, and I was born and raised in Livingston, California, in the Central Valley. And it's funny because we're often called the bread basket of the world. We feed the world. And yet the women in the county that I'm at right now, I'm in the Northern Yokut land, honoring those ancestors. The women in this county are among the most impacted by the economics of injustice. And so I just want to acknowledge that. Also, in preparing for this talk, I found out Merced County, we have double the national average in terms of unemployment. And also, my family is one of the oldest families in this town called Livingston, and we've been in this area for over 100 years. And we have experienced firsthand the increase in violence, drugs use, and I'm talking like methamphetamine, which is like really pretty devastating to the families and communities, homelessness. And this is many of it, all of it is actually has a core in trauma and systems of oppression that actually perpetuate that trauma very actively, such as the prison industrial complex, and seeing the pain and destruction and witnessing that in our families and communities and among loved ones. And I say that because I think it's important to know a little bit of the context of why we're actually have a cohort expanding it into this area. Back in the day, all of my aunts and uncles, my grandma and grandpa, we lived on Peach Avenue. It was a village. It was truly a village. We knew everybody growing up. And my grandpa owned the land. And when he told his kids, if you want an acre, I will give it to you. And so through me living here today, since my mom's passing, I'm the last family member actually living on this land. And it's now 7 generations. Mm-hmm. Sorry, you go the other way. So growing up in a big extended family on Peach, there are so many beautiful aspects to growing up and knowing your cousins and your family. And I do have deep gratitude for those times. And also as a child, I experienced firsthand many of the self-destructive patterns that were handed down through the generations. And one thing I understood later was how much my parents loved us, all 9 children, but they suffered because they did not have the tools to understand and how to heal their trauma and its generational impact in the family. And the other thing so I really started like grappling. I didn't understand where these family patterns were coming from. Also, I didn't understand. I grew up around a lot of Mexicans, but that didn't mean I knew the roots of what was happening. And so as an Indigenous person in Livingston, I didn't understand that we didn't cross the borders in North America. The borders crossed us. And so we became aliens in our own land. We became wetbacks in North America. And also that this economic system of capitalism is about the benefit of a few on the backs of many. And I saw that firsthand. And my father, who worked in the fields and worked so hard, he became disabled, but he was an example of that. And the other issue that came out for me was just the issue of white supremacy and how this was really, I didn't understand how it was. I knew something was wrong. I knew I was treated less when I was a kid. There was comments made about being Mexican, but I didn't understand how it's such a tool to keep us divided and conquered, even among the Mexican people, and how color plays a big part in that. And that really the foundation of this culture is how much self-hate can it teach us around white supremacy. That's a picture of my mom and dad. So I'm going to go through these real quickly, but what I want you to understand about what I'm sharing with you is that I've been in place 7 years, and the family patterns was like 7 years. I have been going deep and broad into what that was, because it's so insidious sometimes how we're impacted by it, but we don't really, I never understood. So this piece you're looking at is called Heal Thy, because I started to say, well, how the hell do you get healthy when you have all these things around you and many of it you cannot control? And the word heal thy, right? Heal thyself came to my mind and around the family patterns. And this is a picture of my body outline and just how each generation they're named, what were the patterns that were coming out. And some of them are strong, but then also there's dysfunctional patterns as well. And then this other piece I did was called Root to Spirit. And this pattern was still looking at the 7 generations, but it was started after being in place for a while, is starting to understand that you can change these patterns in myself and starting there. And so these were reimagining the family patterns, but from a place of healing. And so each of the panels is dedicated to a generation in my family. And the words are based on what are called chakras. I'm not going to go into that, right? But there is an intention for each of those words. The other thing I started to do was bring what I was learning. I'm also have been with elders who are from indigenous traditions, but we call it, some places call it restorative justice. And so I actually became a circle keeper and use this practice of circle with family to talk about some tough issues. And I also, place gave me another skill to bring, which we're doing an intuitive collage here. And you see there's many generations, I think up to 4 generations that participated. And then my family and friends were actively engaged with the talks that we would have, because again, as we said earlier, this is a individual, but it's also, when you start taking it out, it becomes something bigger than yourself. The last thing I wanted to share was just COVID had a big impact on everyone. And as Cynthia mentioned, place we use found objects. And for me, we did our first artist talk, Sheltering in Place. And I used my mom's clothesline. And again, there's 7 panels representing, again, the 7 generations. And it's kind of a nod to like airing the dirty laundry, because many times there's so much shame and guilt around family patterns, and we blame ourselves or blame each other. This is a picture of the piece getting ready for it. You see my mom is in the back. She was one of my biggest supporters. And then this is the piece that ended up coming out, and you see my mom is standing there. But through this journey, I started to reimagine the space on Peach Street and thinking, well, what could we do here? Could we do exhibitions? Could we do artist talks? Could we do film screenings? Could we do healing workshops from place, right? Could it be open to the community? And so that's where the idea of 7 generations coming home was launched in collaboration with A Place of Her Own. And I want to share with you just quickly some of the things that we've been doing here. And some of the folks on this today have been part of this and a part of the journey of healing. And I thank them from the bottom of my heart. This was a Dia de los Muertos, and it was dedicated to my mother and ancestors and those we lost to COVID. This was a soul collage class that we did. Cynthia did hybrid, and some of the folks on this were actually from Chicago and other parts participated in this, which is, again, we're full circle here, y'all. Then also youth art. A lot of young kids have come into the studio and done art as well. The other thing that's coming up is just community collaborations. This is a picture of Dr. Koponka Sandoval, who's from my alma mater, Stan State, and Chunya Johnson, a Choctaw teacher. And this is, we've been collaborating with the Indigenous student activists from Stanislaus State, and then also now from UC Merced. And so this is they're like 26 people, came very intergenerational, from the little ones all the way up to the elders. And you see, okay, we're making drums. And we actually used these drums at the 6th annual Indigenous Peoples Day in Stan State last month, which over 280 people attended. So that was organized by Dr. Sandoval and students, but 7 Gen has been a place where people could come and do and be. This is a piece I'm working on, an installation dedicated to my father. And this is a picture of the installation, my sister and my cousin. And I think basically what I just want you to challenge yourself, like, I'm using this land, this house, the things, the found objects, and I want it to be very accessible and very easy for people to tap into what they need. We are going to be starting a cohort here in the Central Valley. More to come on that. If you stay around for the tea, happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you so much. Thank you to Cynthia, Place Sisters, my friends and family, the California Arts Council for funding this in a much needed area, and also to my partner, Michael War, who is one of my #1 supporters. So thank you. Now, who am I handing it off to? Because we're kind of in a different, if you can help me.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thank you.
Paz. Let's give Paz some love, extra love. The next artist we'll be hearing from is JillieLee. JillieLee, are you ready?
I am ready. Thank you, Paz. That was amazing. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, whoops. Okay, is it sharing?
No.
Okay, hold on. Oh, here it goes. Sorry.
Can you see it now?
Okay, great. I'm excited and nervous to have the opportunity to speak with you about my process. I am Julie Andersen and have been with Place since 2014. Place has given me tools to look at my family patterns and accept what is and was and how it has impacted who I am, and also a platform to share my process through art and storytelling. This is my story of how I am stepping into myself and leadership with resiliency. What I'm about to tell you is my perspective on how awareness is curative. These slides are pictures of myself and my art process of coming into alignment. Place asked us to get baby pictures of ourselves to make art with. I had none, so I asked my sibling to send me some, and they have only sent 2. This is over 7 years or so. So I decided to celebrate these 2 pictures of me and place them into love letters and Intuit cards, which is part of Place. Intuit cards are taking an image and collaging it with intuition with no goal in mind. Tech problem. Okay. There we go. Slide 2. The miracle of life is met with cacophonous, welcoming joy. The family adores the pregnant mama and focuses on creating a safe and secure place for baby to grow and thrive. That is not my story. I myself was not wanted, conceived into a family system full of sorrow, grief, mental illness, and violence. I was submerged in this world, and the only way I survived was to attach to my mentally ill caretakers, and this was not secure. This deep core wound has followed me through my life, unconsciously and consciously, and has nearly killed me physically, emotionally, and metaphorically. In order for me to survive, I attached to anything and body that could carry my bottomless fear of annihilation. My hungry ghost. I existed through others because I did not know how to survive on my own. I had very few tools to navigate life. I had a recurring nightmare that I've had since my childhood. In this recurring nightmare, I'm always being chased by something terrible. The thing chases me into places where I cannot escape. At the point of entrapment, I either plummet to my death or am murdered. The scenarios are endless. As I grew older, I was able to turn this nightmare into something very interesting dreams where I fly or swim into endless adventures, though eventually I am caught and awake gasping for my seeming last breath. As I continue to have this nightmare of being pursued by death over and over, this one night, as I was running from death, I started to question myself. The conversation went something like this. Hey, have you ever tried to turn around and look at what was chasing us? We, yourself, me? I stopped running. It was such a shock to finally realize that after all these years of lucid dreaming, I could actually turn around and look at my pursuer in the eye. So in my dream, I took a deep breath and turned around. I was not prepared for what I saw. Instead of a monster about to kill me, it was my mother chasing me, and behind her was my grandmother, and behind her, my great-grandmother. And the lineage went on, generation after generation, weaving into a long and beautiful matriarchal line, a human quilt running through the centuries. I followed them back until I came upon an Aboriginal man at the origins of time and space. He was sitting at a table and offered me a place to have tea with him. I realized it was he who was trying to get me to look upon my genealogical history, this beautiful tapestry of my matriarchal ancestry. For the first time in my life, I felt fully and totally seen, accepted, loved, and supported in all of my vulnerabilities and strengths. I felt internally and universally connected, my inherent health fully intact. I also felt immense grief from the damage and burden done by multiple generations who suffered under and were colonizers, as well as educationalists. I was humbled to my core, the tears endless. He told me it was time to begin my healing process and come home to myself, that I needed to learn to love myself and trust my intuition, that this was important for me, not just me, but for all my relations and relationships. He also said that when I acknowledge the support and connection I have, this will shift patterns of destruction and division in my life and affect past, present, and future generations. At this point in the dream, the light inside me and outside was such that I could barely hold it. I was floating in a boundless sea of unconditional love. I was falling, the blinding light bursting forth from my core in every direction. I woke into overwhelm of this love and connection, gasping for breath. I would like to say that in the next part of my life, I walked immediately into consciousness, healed and full of gratitude and love. But alas, I am human. The unfolding of the gift of this recurring nightmare and dream has happened slowly. I could not hold a lot of what this dream offered me. My path to health has been like a dance with shadow and light on water, reflecting back in real time, disappearing, re-emerging, the same and yet different, an ongoing, if not elusive path where I've had to go through experiences where my heart was laid bare and the path lonely. And yet this dream and my experiences and supports such as place have led me to document my process. I've been able to write my love letters. I am learning to commit to me and to show up for myself and curate my life. I am learning it is imperative to put myself first. I am committed to my inherent health and healing. I am learning to trust my intuition. I am beginning to follow my dreams, trusting my dreams will support me. Grateful for the gift of being alive, grateful for being human, grateful for experiencing every emotion. I am choosing to stay present, accepting what is. As I recognize my patterns, this allows me to separate what is mine and not mine. This awareness is curative. I have choices. This self-awakening and conscious coming home feels like I can almost look myself in the mirror and say, I love you. I love being seen and heard. I love to trust those around me and them to trust me, holding space and inherent health. Everything in my life is the way it's supposed to be. I am open to partnerships and relationships where I am accepted as my whole self and how I show up in the world, including all of my foibles. That I hold and have compassion, love, and forgiveness of my history of abuse, my vulnerabilities, and my insecurities. That these are a part of my personal quilt and make me uniquely who I am. I love that all my experiences show up on my face as character and sovereignty. This is grace. I am a curator. I am a generator of ideas. I am an artist. I am a health and wellness consultant. And I just thank Cynthia and all of my place cohorts for supporting me and coming back to myself. And that is my talk. And
Yay!
and
Yay!
thanks. And I think I'm supposed to be bringing in Nora, correct?
Norma, yes.
Norma, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
All right, let's give JillieLee some love for sharing her wisdom and artistry and eldership. If you can stop sharing. And Norma, are you ready to grace us with your presence?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm ready. Thank you. And I would try to, my first language is Spanish, so I would try to speak a little slowly in English. And I wanted to share with all of you my screen. Okay. So that's like this. Okay, I'm ready. So I wanted to present my balance. So I'm gonna start in 2018 in my place for her. And I remember when I was the first time, I'm really quiet and look at, because I never been in one place where people accepting me like how I am. So after 2 plays for her coming with Cynthia, I'm learning about my balance. I need to learn about my balance. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my chakras and my balance. This is my focus today. So this is my last work, a balance. I love to be in balance, but sometimes it's so hard for me because I'm so different. And I wanted to show you my resilience in this pandemic. My mom passed away. My body shut off like this. The doctors say we need to take like at least 1 or 2 years to get better. And I was thinking about run away in my chakras and my balance. And I talked to my body and I talked to me, hey, Norma, you need to be in balance. If there's some chakra that's wrong with you, you need to listen yourself and you need to practice what I learned from Place for Her. So, and I talked to my little Normita. It is me when I was a baby. I never finished my letter for her because it's so hard. It's so painful for me to talk with her and protect her. So my mom passed away. It's a lot of issues around me. And I promised to her, don't worry. Don't worry, little Normita. We are alone, but I'm still keeping you safe. Nobody going to be hurt you like something. I promised her, run to the top, to the 7th floor or 9th floor, wherever, and be with me alone, just you and me. Because just only you and me know how it's painful, how it's so difficult, keep the life out of my mom. Call her and she never will answer again to us. So my family, my children, my love. That says my focus. And my family, when I went with Place for Her, I found it. I am only the one lady. I never get married, and I'm still with the same man for a long 33 years. So in my home, everybody is gonna get married, sexual abuse, break, divorce, and everything. But nobody want to talk because look like it's normal. And I say no. It can be normal. That's life is not like this. So anyway, I'm become to action to transform what I want to achieve, right? And I say, I can't believe it. The doctor say 2 years or maybe never, you back same face. And I focus in my chakra and I say, yes, there is. I'm ready. I remember when I was in the hospital, it was when my little girl, she graduation, and I talked to the doctor, I'm ready, I'm fine, I will be fine. The doctor say, you have to be in the hospital. Say, no, I'm ready because the right is to exist. They're from borders that not belong to us. So that's what I talk to all my family. That's when I'm open to my children's. And the place for her before the COVID come, I remember my boy, like Julian, was translation me about English in public, and he never hear my history. My family never hear about I have a lot of problems when I was a baby. They think I'm so happy. They think it was really normal lady and baby. So we need to, I talk to them, we need to free off attachment. So this is my little girl, quinceañera. We have 2 months ago, because that's just how I wanted. And she honored to her ancestors, grandparents, aunts, to handle picture with her. So my focus is in my chakras. So I need to be aligned every chakra. And I'm working so hard in this. And it is something like I love this. Remember, happiness doesn't depend on who you are or what do you have. It depends solely on what do you think. That is my suggestion all the time. That is how I'm thinking. And like I am for successful, not perfection, never give up, because they will be lost to the ability to learn new things. Moving forward with your life. So that is my life. And I'm moving forward. I saw my husband to go to the quinceañera and the mass. So we celebrate our family. Our ancestor doesn't come hurt me, but just go around. And this is me, my little girl. She is with the doll, the last doll. That's me. I'm so really happy. And we don't have to carry ties of gas that do not belongs to me. I'm so free. I love, and I want it to be like this. I love, I do, I listen, I understand, I see it. I communicate with love and clearly. I'm speak the truth. I'm honor my fire inside for me. And I do whatever I do to do. So that's just my balance. And this is me, Norma Carrera. Thanks to Pat, thanks to sister, thanks to Ahran and Cynthia. I love all of you. Thanks a lot to listen to me. And yes, we can. Sí se puede. Thanks.
Thank you, Norma. Oh, let's give Norma some love, y'all. How fantastic. So fabulous. I have to follow that, y'all. So last but not least, it's me. It's Ahran. I'll be the last artist speaking today. But before we go into that, I need to stretch because we've been like sitting and like listening really hard. So let's just gift ourselves some stretches and full breathing. Yeah, I need that because I'm feeling nervous right now. Okay. All right, I'm gonna host myself and try to figure this out. Okay. Share my screen. Spotlight for everybody. I am spotlighted and here we go. Can y'all see my screen? Yeah, okay. All right. So hi, everybody. My name's Ahran. My pronouns are she, her. I'm 1.5 Korean American. As you can see on the slide, I'm a facilitator, I'm a coach, I'm a multidisciplinary artist, I'm an improv teacher, and I'm also a community leader. So I wanted to talk about not specifically art pieces per se, but what I continue to deepen as a human being ever since I became awakened by joining the Place Sisterhood, the Place ecosystem. So first and foremost, the most important thing that got radicalized for me was my relationship to creativity. You can see the red piece. That was my art piece when I graduated the Place residency program back in 2018. And when I look at that picture, I see someone who is having a lot of mental health challenges, really being in victim narrative, being very controlling and tight about my art making. But I realized by watching my Place sisters and also by the loving mentorship of Cynthia, that art is not about the final product. Art is about the process, the journey that I go on to sit with myself, to really ask, what is it that I want to say with my art? And being with the blocks, being with the joy. And over the years, ever since I've joined Place, I started improv. I make playgrounds, and my art has expanded into all these different directions that I didn't anticipate, because I was so rigid before, and Place just opened up a lot of avenues for me to experiment and play with my creativity. And ultimately, now how I think about creativity is that it's the journey. The journey is the joy. Okay. So next, I realized, oh my gosh, Cynthia is modeling vulnerability. She is modeling imperfection and deeply using the concept of kintsugi, which is we look at our perceived mistakes and failures and we highlight them and we celebrate them. And I realized that in my humanity, that was medicine, because before I was deeply concerned about public image and status and being really rigid about nobody can dare see any imperfection or any mistakes I made. And that made me deeply trapped in my own body and inauthentic. But by watching my Place cohort sisters do their artist talk about their creative processes, and especially being led by Cynthia's leadership and eldership, I realized the style of eldership I want to step into is to model my humanity by modeling imperfection. And so what that takes us to is authenticity. Authenticity is this big buzzword where it's like, yeah, be free. It's a lot, I'm realizing it's a lot more challenging to actually be in an embodied authenticity, because you really have to be with the discomfort of feeling vulnerable and being seen in that vulnerability. But when you get practice with that, and when you see other like-minded souls modeling that for you, it starts to become more easy. And then all of a sudden, I'm sitting on my throne of authenticity. So I found the language of my authenticity by being in the Place sisterhood. And yes, patriarchy, white supremacy, capitalism, to me, they're all kind of the same thing. Those systems, those poisons have deeply conditioned all of us to be hyper individualistic. Pardon my French, but I want to say fuck you to all of that. Because at the end of the day, we can't do our healing. We can't fully integrate and be embodied in our healing in a silo. I want to take a minute here because I'm getting really fired up. Our original language is community. We are community animals. We are meant to be in co-regulation with other nervous systems. At some point in your healing, you do have to go into your own cave and be with your hungry ghost, have tea with their shadows and ask, what are you here to teach me? And at some point you leave your cave and you go back into your tribe and be seen and be witnessed. And that process integrates the insights that you personally cultivated in your cave. So community was deeply taught to me as an integral part of my being. And Place has gifted me the sacred gift, my own language of spirituality. And yes, you know, we talk about chakras, we talk about the creative process, we talk about family patterns, all these things. And we, each of my sisters have our own spiritual language. And for me, the moniker that I'm most proud of as an artist, as a woman of color, as a Korean American person, as an artist, as a leader, I am most proud of the moniker Ancestral Pattern Shifter. And what Ancestral Pattern Shifter means is that I am choosing to look at my hungry ghosts and see them as companions, see them as teachers, see them as angels who are here to help me look at and examine what is really important for me. Okay, so I have severely codependent patterns. Where does that come from? Oh, it's intergenerational. It's the Korean War. It was the Japanese occupation. It was North Korea, South Korea division. These were things, these were forces outside of me that were subjected into my line. And for whatever reason, the ancestors tapped me and gifted me a big mouth and said, we're gonna look at this and we're gonna talk about it. It's the big elephant in the room anyway, so let's talk about it. So to choose every single time to not only sit with it with myself, but to invite other people to witness me in that talking, in that exploration, all the small and big choices that I make, that makes me an ancestral pattern shifter. So I'm about to wrap up here. This is a moniker, the ancestral pattern shifter, that we all in this place ecosystem proudly own. The fact that we chose to do this brave thing today, the artist talk, makes us ancestral pattern shifters. And for the audience members who devoted your precious time to be with us today, you too now are an ancestral pattern shifter. So thank you so much for being an additive medicine to this community. And that's my time. Thanks, y'all. Spotlight.
So thank you guys for participating in this. I just wanted to remind you of a couple things. Oh, my slide disappeared. Oh, so just, we are going to take a break and then we are open books to you. And if you want to know how to do some of this, we'll try to share it as much as we can. What I'm just telling you here is just a couple of special and upcoming things. And that is, again, and ask us questions about this too. The hybrid is Zoom and in person for the Central Valley with POS and her 7gen space. And then the YouTube recordings. So I just want to make sure you keep track of that. And then the other thing I encourage you to do is get on our mailing list or get on my mailing list, and I can get you, if you want to write to any of these artists, and I can put you in contact with them as well. So Ron, do you want to just close this out to the break?
Mm-hmm. Okay, y'all. You have really earned your break. So it is 3:33. Let's come back in 5 minutes. So 3:38. And we'll transition into a conversation where you get to get curious and ask questions about the artist. Okay. We'll
but
see
I
you
also
in
want to say, sorry,
yeah.
Ron.
No,
if
go
you
ahead,
guys
Cynthia.
want to leave, we're not offended. So you've been here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for helping our women transform their eldership into their eldership. So you really are part of that. The other thing I want to tell you, and it's still just an inkling, we're going to try to do some of the programs pilot and do non-gender specific as well, because we know there's a huge need in the world to share some of this, but we do still are keeping one section sacred for just the women, but we're thinking we need to open it up in a very small way. So if you're interested, just let us know. Anyway, take a break. And like I said, if you leave, it's fine. We're not offended. But if you come back, we'll also love it very much. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in 5 minutes.
Jordan, I wanted to emphasize, Bronwyn, are you still here? Or did she, where is she? I have a friend here from Australia.
I'm here. I'm
Oh,
here, Cynthia.
Bronwyn, I don't know if you guys are next to, on my screen, you're next to each other. But
Yeah,
Jordan,
I can see you, Jordan. Hi.
Hi,
Jordan's doing
nice to meet you.
your film's being screened in Australia, Emily
Yeah,
said. Do you know
yes.
where in Australia?
We believe it's in Sydney, Australia. It's at the Artist Center in Australia, and I think
Because
in one of the Italian neighborhoods out there.
Bronwyn is from that neck of the woods, so if you can send me
Okay.
anything, she could send it out because she's a soul collage trainer. She's my trainer, and she's been in that community for a long time. And
Oh,
Emily knows her too. Emily's been in her class, but then Bronwyn
okay.
could help spread the word, which would be kind of cool.
Oh, I would really appreciate that if you had that time to
Yeah,
do that.
so what are you actually doing, Jordan?
So I made a documentary and it got selected to the SF3 Smartphone Flick Film Festival.
Yeah,
And it's
cool.
in that and the festival is in Australia. I believe it's in Sydney. I know the in-person screening. So there's two parts. There's like an in-person screening and there's an online screening. And the in-person screening is at I'm looking at the address right now. It's at the Actors Center in Australia. And the Italian Forum. It says the Leichhardt.
Oh, it's at Leichhardt. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's where it's going to play in person, and then my
Cool.
film will be screening online
Nice.
through the
And
festival.
tell her what it's about, Jordan.
Oh, sorry. It's a documentary I made about inspired by my mom, who's a hairstylist. So it's about Black hairstylists and their importance to the Black community and as well as communities in general, and just how their skills as hairstylists, as counselors, help women and help themselves and their community, help themselves create their own jobs and opportunities to be financially independent, have their own autonomy in the world, and just how together when they're in the salon, it takes place in a salon, and it shows how these women create the space for each other to laugh, to talk, to be vulnerable with each other, and to have their own individual selves in the world. So that's what it's about. It's a 40-minute documentary, and I made it on a cell phone. So the film festival is for films made on cell phones and tablets. So that's what the documentary is about.
Cool. Can you are you able to maybe send through Cynthia a link to that or something so I could have a look at it?
I could share your guys' email with each other.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Bronwyn,
that'd be great.
Just so you know,
Okay.
Jordan is Emily's partner.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Because Emily's done soul collage with Bronwyn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Emily was telling me about that, and I've been here when she was doing it. Oh yeah, okay. It's really awesome. From what I've seen
Yeah.
a little bit of.
Do
it,
you
heard
know
of it.
when that will be screening, Jordan? Do you know
It
when
should
the
be-
live screening will be?
My film will be online, and that'll start on the 5th of November. So it's going to be from the 5th of November, and I think after you can get tickets for that, you'll be able to screen it for 15 days after the 5th of November.
Yeah, make sure let us all know. And then Bronwyn, it might be interesting for your soul collage trainers who are looking at understanding different people of color.
Yeah.
to have
No,
Jordan's
that would be
thing.
great.
That would be
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
No,
part
that
of the
sounds
reason why I made
amazing,
it.
Jordan. That sounds really incredible. That's great.
Oh, thank you.
Yay.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you, Cynthia.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'll send an email to you, and I'll ask Emily to send the email with all the information on it. I have it right in front of me, so I can just.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. That'd be great because I might even be able to get down there. I don't know what day of the week it will be, but I might even be able to get down there and see. It would be cool to go and see it live.
Well,
See it.
I'm not sure if it's going to play live. How they have it set up is they have it set up in different categories. Mine is a feature film, so they're only going to screen one of 9 feature films.
Ah, I see.
But it will be available to screen online, so you can watch it online. So you don't have to go all the way to Sydney if it's too far.
Yeah. Great. Oh, that'd be amazing if you can send me that information. That'd be great. Thanks.
I'll get it to you. It's nice to meet you, Bronwyn.
Yeah, lovely. And wonderful work. That sounds, and it's really interesting with hairdressers. You've got that intimacy that allows authenticity. So it's a really special space, in that, because it is such an intimate thing, it allows those connections to be there. And people tend to relax at the hairdressers. So yeah, that's amazing. That sounds great.
Yeah, I grew up around it. My mom has been a hairstylist for like over 20 years. So I was a kid growing up around different women in different hair salons. Then I wanted to capture a lot of what I saw. So that intimacy you talk about, I try to capture it. The vulnerability that women feel, at least women that I've experienced, that I've seen feel. I wanted to capture those kind of things and just show the importance of what these women do. And these people who are kind of overlooked a lot in society. So I wanted to kind of exalt them and show how important they are.
Well, I don't know what it was like over there, but over here, during the restrictions, one of the restrictions are we weren't allowed to go to hairdressers, and there's a big outcry about that. And then it was one of the first things that came back, and everybody's like, yeah, I can go to the hairdressers. And it just, it is so important. It's such an important facet.
That's what
and people don't.
We're gonna go ahead and transition into the conversation, and I want to keep mindful about our time here because we have about 20 or so minutes left. So for those of you who are away from your computers but want to participate in the conversations, please migrate back to your screen, and it would be lovely to see your faces. If you could turn your camera on, that would be lovely. And Cynthia,
well, you know what? I'd love to hear how people heard about this. What brought you here today? Because you really are part of this growth in an unusual way, in the part of this eldership development in a really special way. So I just wondered how you even knew about it.
I was invited.
By anybody we know?
Crystal.
Crystal.
I was invited by Cynthia.
Oh, Crystal. Oh, okay. And Crystal, Rose, and I have known each other for 8 years now? Yep. We met on Zoom through Jean Shinoda Bolen, who's a Jungian psychologist, and we've been in touch at least monthly, if not bi-monthly, for 8 years now on Zoom. So I knew how to use Zoom before the pandemic, thank goodness, because 2020 we had to go online, and I knew how to use it already, which was good. Thank you, Lucy, for being here.
Thanks.
Nestor, I'm happy to see you. Reyna's husband, Mylene's husband.
Hi.
I want to put it out to Tracy Flanagan. Thanks for joining, Tracy. I know you're on. Your camera's hidden and you're on mute. Thanks.
But yeah, Nestor, when I'm feeling better, we want to I want to work with you, and I know Chris Matos in Puerto Rico wants to start doing some of the easier stuff it's not even easier, the collage work to start, if you're interested.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'm feeling much better, so I can actually have some bandwidth now to engage back into society.
Congratulations.
There's just been a lot of death in the family and a lot of health issues, and it just got too overwhelming. Yeah, so I'm happy to be here. I'm getting better and better, so I look forward to doing that with you, Cynthia.
Well, blessings to you.
Thank you.
comfort and ease. Yeah.
Thank you.
I really would like to take the opportunity to express my tremendous gratitude to all of you who shared so beautifully today, and to Cynthia for your stalwart determination to bring healing, and through yourself, your being, have come up with such creative and inspirational sharing techniques that have been now utilized by these women and other women who they've touched, and other women who they will touch, and other women and men who they will eventually touch. And I just feel so grateful to have been able to have witnessed the evolution of place through Cynthia over these past 4 or 5 years, I suppose. And to see the evolution of those of you who were sharing this on this particular occasion, and the evolution of yourselves. It's an organism that has been birthed by Cynthia and has been gestated by all of you and everybody else who's been in any way touched by place. And I really have tremendous visions for some other things that could really come out of this. This presentation was so beautifully done, so beautifully done. It can become the cornerstone of something much, much greater. And I bless you all, and I thank you all so very, very much.
Thank you, Crystal. May I ask, I'm hearing a lot of bird song. Are you near a lot of birds?
We are near birds. The bird songs that you hear are recordings that we have in the home to keep us out there, even though we can't always be there. Thank you for noticing.
Yeah. I'm curious from the audience members if anybody wants to speak directly to any of the artists that they were touched by today. Now's a chance to relay and convey your appreciation as we're all here together. Please go ahead, Marianne.
Well, I really was very moved by the stories and by the poetry and the imagery and everything that brought up, and the courage it takes to kind of do the deep dive to find it and bring it up to the light. So, you know, I'm so in awe of everyone who participated today. And I'd also like to say to Paz that I'm so impressed with what you're starting with the community. And I think it's wonderful. And I've been lucky enough to work in situations with community in an expressive arts way. And, you know, and it's an intangible, but you do see a lot of change and healing and perspective shifts. And I'm so happy that you're doing that. And I wish you the best experience and everything that goes with that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bronwyn, please.
Thanks, Ahran. And thank you, Cynthia. I'd just like to reach out to JillieLee because I know her so well, and I have worked with her and seen the progression through soul collage that leads into this, and just the authenticity and, you know, being brave enough to show up and be totally present and share your story is just amazing to see. The others, I don't know you. I've spoken to a couple of you before, but JillieLee I've had a lot to do with. And just seeing that evolution, I really salute you, JillieLee. And, you know, just being there, being present and really showing up and just being willing to be vulnerable and open yourself up to the work. And just the other stories from all of you is just so heartwarming and I think so motivating for anybody who's working in any healing area to really see, you know, what Cynthia is bringing to everybody and how through that authenticity and being able to show up, healing happens. So it's really motivating to hear all the different stories. So thank you for welcoming us all to witness you and being part of this today. Thanks.
Thank you, Bronwyn.
Thank you.
Cecilia, take yourself off mute.
Thanks. I just want to thank everyone for this meeting. I get invited with my friend Pat, or Paz, as you all know her. I've known her for a very long time, and we've all evolved in life coming forward and see the changes in each other. But at the same time, it's like we never left in some way. That's, you know what I mean, Pat? And so we don't see each other as often as I would like to, but life gets in the way. But it's someone told me this once, that you're as busy as you want to be. And I'm trying to let go of some of those things and just to try to really concentrate on me. And I have to say, everyone's story was just so wonderful and so courageous to be out there and to show your art too. That is so amazing to me, because I don't have that. And my medium is more speaking. I have no problem speaking to a crowd. I can do impromptus. I can talk about anything and I can make my point. But like moments like these kinds of forums or workshops that I'm invited to, it's a whole different sphere for me of seeing life. And it's just like, man, I can do that too. And I was so moved by the artist to the love letter to myself. That really moved me. That is so wonderful. What a great way to heal yourself. And it's so enlightening to me. And it's like, well, when can I start doing that? And maybe I should start working on that kind of project to get me started. But how beautiful to express what you feel, how beautiful it is to express your vulnerabilities, your fear, your anxieties, insecurities. So beautiful, yet so moving. And it's like, how can I get there? And I think just making myself get started through, is great. And I'm glad this place exists. I think I went to an opening when the artists had all their work out there, and my friends and I, in support of Pat. But wow, that was great. Thank you.
You came in 2018, I think, to Emeryville. It was
Emeryville, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I remember you.
And then to me, it's like, man, I really ache for the rest of my friends, my queens. I call them my Reynas, my queens, to be part of this, because I think they would benefit and they'll spread it, around. I'm looking forward to the site in the valley to get off the ground.
Yeah.
I encourage.
Can I just say
sorry.
something?
Sure.
See, that's why I wanted plays so much, because you pay forward and it's all love. And I'm thinking of you, I'm thinking of my family, and it's all connected. So please, 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 porfa, you're my heart, So thank you.
I encourage JillieLee and Ahran to share their path with the love letters, so Cecilia can hear kind of how it happened.
Well, I'll start. It's a long process. That's all I can say. Like, just even I've actually tried to write that love letter for about, I don't know how many years. 2014. So 8 years.
Actually, I started in 2016, and you wrote it to your daughters.
Yes,
couldn't write it to you.
Yeah, I couldn't write it. And this summer I tried to write this letter. I tried for a year, like almost like doing something weekly on this. And all I got was like more Hungry Ghost stuff. And it wasn't until Cynthia started doing Intuit the Intuit cards, and I was doing cards and not even knowing what the point of the cards are, which was some of the images that I showed. And my sister came up, and the whole mental illness, and that piece about my hungry ghost of attaching to anything and anybody, that actually started to become the resolution. And I'm still in it. And it's just all about, for me, like starting to accept just what was and what is now. And my boundaries are so much stronger. The last couple of weeks have been almost a landslide of friends kind of washing through and just having strong enough boundaries too, because that's the other thing about trauma. I think your boundaries start getting really watery, and you lose yourself within, like I said, within other people. Emily too. Emily talked about her love letter as well.
Let's hear from Emily, since she actually showcased that in her artist talk today.
Yeah, I feel like I could give an entire artist talk just on the love letter, because out of all the different things that we did during Place, that was like a turning point for me, and 2 years later it continues to be like a core of my healing. And it was also one of the hardest assignments to complete. It was, when I say it was a turning point, it was like when I presented the love letter, when I finally created it and I presented it to everybody, I just broke down crying the whole time that I was talking about it, because I couldn't believe that I could write it, you know. Like, when I think about what my relationship to my child self was, I really didn't have one. Like, that relationship to my child self was, it was repressed, it was cut off, it was shunned, because I didn't even connect that person was me. Like, I was so disconnected from it. And it was like, it was a choice that I made, you know. Maybe I wasn't conscious of it, but it was a choice I made to completely disconnect myself from that person who is me. It's not like a separate person, you know. And so the process of writing this letter with love to my child self was so difficult, because I didn't love that person.
Thank you, Emily. And the child we're talking about is not the inner child concept. This is actually you at a younger age, whatever age comes up. Thank you, Emily. And Ahran, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I understand, Emily, your tears. I understand the quality and textures of that crying. Ultimately, what the love letters are for each of us is, it's a gentle way to come back home to the younger parts of us that wasn't heard, was neglected, didn't get the love that she deserved and needed, didn't get the holding that she needed. And I think that's why I also, much like Norma and Emily, struggled deeply with the love letters, because there was a deeply internalized belief that I didn't deserve love, that I had to earn it by contorting myself to perform a certain version of me so that I could feel safe, so that I could feel loved, so that I could be accepted. And for most of my life, I was running those patterns and I was very unconscious of it. And then every time that was rejected, I blamed myself. So there's this really funny picture where my 2018 court sisters, they all have their love letters finished and they're smiling and they're proud. I'm the only person who doesn't have her love letter. And I'm just smiling because I'm like, I look like an idiot. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm so grateful that I can look back at that picture and smile, because that version of me was little Ahran. And she was just unaware, and she was beginning her journey to come back home. If you're not modeled, if you're not given the love that you deserve, it's really foreign, it's really uncomfortable and vulnerable to give that to yourself. But the beauty of writing it in this sisterhood with other sisters doing it, they model how to do that. And oh, look, Emily is writing it. If Emily can do it, then maybe I can try. Even if I don't like fully believe in it, if I see myself trying, that's the first step. So it's not just some letter that we write. This is sacred. This is difficult. This is healing in action in real time. Yeah, I can talk about this till next Sunday, but I'll stop there.
So I wanted to let you guys know it is 4 o'clock, but I'm willing to just stay on for another half hour. But whoever needs to leave, please feel free to do it. It's okay. But it's hard after we hang up because then you guys are all gone. So I'm just willing to stick around. I'm feeling energized right now. And for those of you who don't know, I've been working through a concussed brain that's been undiagnosed. So usually I'm really dizzy. And about this time of day, I have to be laying down. I get really dizzy reading and writing. That's why I don't have many paintings, because I haven't been able to paint much. But I feel really energized right now because I know we're doing the right thing. So if you want to stay, please stay. But if you want to go, it really doesn't offend us. But I'm going to stick around for another half hour. Even my place sisters, if you need to go, I don't want to commit you to another half hour. But I'll be here.
Again, I want to say just thank you for people showing up to listen. It's just so exciting to have this forum and conversations.
Yeah. I wanted to say something. Now, I was invited by Crystal. I don't fully understand everything I'm hearing right now, and I'm because I am new to healing in different aspects, but and I definitely do not understand the ancestral healing, because that is nothing that I've ever heard in my life, because I don't even have family. So for me, that would be a whole foreign world I've never known outside of, besides my parents, I've never known any other family. So the ideal of healing lineage of, so I want to know more. I want to hear more on that. I'm very curious. I'm always open to everything, but I was very inspired hearing everyone's story today. It gave me hope, because Crystal definitely knew I needed to hear that. I'm going through a very hard season right now. And I just thank y'all for letting me be a part of this.
Thanks for speaking so vulnerably and saying yes to something that is completely new to you, Lucy. And bless Crystal for inviting you. Thank you so much.
And if you don't understand this, it normally is a 6-month program. So there's no way you can get it in an hour and a half or 2 hours. And then about not knowing who your ancestors are, basically grandparents, great-grandparents, just the lineage. But your story is very similar. Like my father was sold by his family in China when he was 1 and brought here. And I didn't have time to go into the story. He was brought here by a Chinese couple from Oakland, California, who bought him to sell him because baby boys were a commodity back in this is the 1920s. So I don't know anything about his, I don't even know the people that bought him really, because he ran away when he was 15 because they made him sleep outside a lot when he was a child. They locked him out. It was very abusive. But it's a knowing that you come from somewhere, and those things that happen, that's that thing about trauma, that trauma is what happened and what your family did to cope with things, and it gets handed down unspoken. And that's the kind of stuff we're looking at, bringing to your consciousness, and then releasing it. And sometimes it's just imagining that you're actually doing that. And I was told that imagination is everything. So a lot of times that's how I have to work, is just using my imagination and trusting that I'm healing energies. And I know, because I'm feeling better, like worlds better than I even did 2 years ago. So Lucy, it's great you're here. Is she still here? I can't see. Oh, there she is.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm here. I'm here.
So
Can
be gentle with yourself. Sorry, Nestor.
Cynthia, can I ask
Yes.
what the components of the love letter is?
It's actually pretty simple, but it's not easy to do. So what I end up doing is having people make a collage for themselves. Like you make a gift for yourself with found objects that you either have at home, or if we do it together. And it's whatever you want to make for yourself. And I usually ask you to bring a photo of yourself at some age, because usually I'm learning that photo tells you that that's you at that age that's knocking. It's like, hello, pay attention to me. And this is one way to access that child. Like right now I have, I started doing more cards, but I've been making photos. I just am taking pictures of myself in old photo albums, and then I'm just printing them. And I'm doing it through, not that I should plug these guys, but they'll do 4x6s for free. So I've been doing like hundreds of them, and I cut them out and I'm making collages with them. And then after you do that gift for yourself, then you sit and try to like allow a love letter to yourself to come out. And it could be something you wish your parents had said to you, or some elder that cared for you said to you, or it could be you as an adult and what you're saying to that little boy that's showing up. And it's you. You're saying it to, did you have a nickname when you were little, Nestor?
Yeah, Juno.
Juno. So Nestor's writing a love letter to Juno, or you could pretend your parents are writing it. And I have still not written my own love letter to myself. I've made an art piece, but I use the christening from the TV show Jane the Virgin, because it is so beautiful. It's a grandmother who read it to her daughter, and the daughter read it to her daughter, and now the daughter's reading it to her son as the christening in the TV show. And I don't watch a lot of TV, but when I heard the christening, it blew me away. So I put that on my love letter. So it's a really interesting exercise. It sounds cute, it sounds easy, but it's pretty profound, actually. Yes, Paz, turn on.
Thank you.
Unmute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, I just want to add real quick. One thing about Place is very supportive, and it's not a competition. Sometimes you write the love letter that year, maybe the next year. You do everything on your own time. But I did want to share because when my mom was still alive, I actually asked her to write a love letter to me. And she was willing to do it. And sometimes we don't realize how desperately our family members, we're looking for that connection, but so are they. So before she passed, she was able to write a love letter to me, and then I wrote one. And so it's not to say that's what you need to do, but I think all of these things we're learning, there's things that you can bring them. I always try to bring them into my life because there's so much still things happening in real time, healing. And so sometimes we're trying to heal a wound and it's still infected and it's getting rubbed because we're seeing, especially for the younger generations, like I really do this for them, because I love them so much. And I don't want to see them go through the same things that they had to go through. And so just like, like you can be very, very creative about how you do it, who you bring it to. It's medicine. It's medicine for you, but it's also medicine when you can bring others into it as well. But there's no right or wrong way.
Yeah, like the things that you hear about, the projects that you hear about me bring up, people are always welcome to do it their own way. I'm just giving some tools to play with. And yes, some people can't get the love letter. It took a year, or it might even take 2 years, but that's part of it, is noticing. That's part of the journey, is noticing the time it's taking, but it's also kind of sitting in your mind. And yeah, it's flexible. But all these things are things that I've worked on for myself. And then I go, oh, it's a great idea. And yeah, I was actually going to do dolls, paper dolls with little sayings coming out of them, but I thought the love letters would be more acceptable. And to do it with men, it'd be interesting.
Can I add to since we're in the topic of love letters? I actually was able to
I can't hear you, Reyna. Are you talking to us?
Yeah.
I can barely hear you.
Hi, can you hear me better?
They're partners, by the way, or they're married.
On the topic of love letters, I was actually just this past winter, I was able to use that as an activity with a bunch of frontliners in the community, activists, and they wrote their love letters, but we actually sealed it up and have saved it to be opened up a year after. So thank you for introducing this activity that is actually expanding to my community, and looking forward to actually what that would be like a year after.
Cool. You'll have to update us on that.
Yeah, this is really powerful. I don't know who was the lady that talked about like writing. I'm actually thinking about writing a love letter to my father, whom I've had a very challenging relationship with. That is an amazing idea. Or even to my brothers and sisters that I've had some trouble with, or all I know, she spoke very, very well about that they probably are also yearning and hungry, and as I am, for one, wanting to know how they feel about me or how I feel about them. Life happens, and it's very, we don't, it doesn't even come to our mind that, wow, I'm your brother, I'm your son. You should, that I love you, but we don't really hear it. We don't really express it. And I think that's a great project for me to really think about doing. Not only just for myself. That's why I was asking. Ahran was talking when I came in, and I really appreciated her vulnerability. And Emily talked about the perfectionism before, and now Ahran is also mentioning about like just being a human being and failure, and when you're not living up to your expectations. I guess it's all about being hard on oneself, and I can attest to that. And the thing that Ahran was just really affecting me is, and Emily, is the vulnerability part about like, how could you be true and real and authentic and transparent, to people around you, and risk not being approved of or misunderstood or rejected. And it just doesn't really matter if you're talking from your heart and your truth. And that's not easy, but I'm moving towards that. And that's why I stayed, in this, because I mentioned to to Leng that, Ahran I said, wow, this is a really powerful group. Because immediately I dropped in, and so real, and my heart just completely open. I'm like, you can be who you are here. I'm getting goosebumps as I'm talking about that. You can be, as she was talking, it was like, so she was so, I saw her humanness, it's like, how the challenges that she's having, and, with herself, but she spoke about it. She's not perfect, so thank you very much, Ahran, for your expression, because it brings out something inside of me that I didn't know or was avoiding to heal, and for everyone here to witness our vulnerability. Can't help but to talk from the heart, like I'm doing right now. It's like, it seems like I can't hide, or it's like, and I don't want to, so thank you for having this space. It's really powerful, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very
healing.
Where you're concerned about being, not belonging by being authentic. So that's something I'd been working on for a long time, but a lot of times I don't have words for things. So I came across Gabor Mate, and he was an MD forever in Canada. And he's written many books, like When the Body Says No. And he's just such a gentle, powerful soul, but very gentle. But he said that when we're children, the two big needs we have, one is for attachment to our caregivers for survival. And the other need is authenticity, the need to be allowed to have the emotions we have, and to be, have our family really enjoy who we are, right? But generally, you either go with attachment or authenticity. Rarely are they together. So we spend the rest of our lives trying to get that attachment piece. And just recently, because of what's going on with my vision and stuff, I just get so dizzy all the time. I can't take care of things myself. So I have to ask for help. And Chris, my partner, left for Puerto Rico. Just left, like he moved out, but there's all this stuff here. And I had this sweet woman, Irene Wabawa, came. She's like, I'll come help you get everything. I'll take it to the Salvation Army. And I felt really guilty. And I don't know, I just felt really insecure because I couldn't make it all nice and neat for her and stack it. And then she was a little late, and I started having a panic attack. I'm like, I don't have panic attacks. And the word annihilation kept coming up. And what I realized is what needs to heal is I was worried about losing my attachment for survival. Even though it had nothing to do with the situation came to trigger it for me so that I could work on it. But I had this guttural feeling that I was going to get killed because I needed to ask for help, and I couldn't organize the stuff, and I couldn't, it was crazy. It wasn't crazy. It was so in my face that I realized that that's the thing I had to heal. Was I had to tell myself I was safe because I'm attached to myself and I'm attached to spirit. I don't need to be attached to anybody else. And that's really empower making when you have that epiphany. So anyway, Gabor Mate has so many lessons that I've been learning, and I've incorporated into the way I talk about place, because I'm already doing these things. But he talks about addictions. We all have addictions, but he talks about how to be gentle with yourself about it. And all the addictions were coping mechanisms to things we couldn't handle. And so he's taught me to be gentler and kinder to myself.
Ooh, that's really that's a challenge, you know.
Yeah.
One last thing I wanted, as you were talking, Cynthia, that in your expression, I got really in touch with, like, I don't think I've ever been myself, even in my family. It's really powerful for me right now that I'm not really who I am in front of people. It's almost like there's always a mask. There's somebody else acting, you know, trying to, you know, as they say, the fawning part, you know, trying to appease and trying to fulfill other people's needs, and, you know, like trying to survive, actually, the social scene, you know. And so it's like I've not felt my true self. I think, not. I think I know it. I know that's my struggle, that to be truthful of my expression. You know, that's. So thank you for that.
If you look at your lineage, you're from a heritage that is still being colonized. Still, and it's been colonized for what, 500-600 years. So you had to bend. Everybody had to bend, or you'd get killed, or you'd get set adrift, and, you know, your family couldn't afford for you to do that. So the cool thing is epigenetics, right? The fact that, and this is, I got from Gabor Mate, right, that trauma is what happens inside you as a response to what's happening outside. So that means you can heal the DNA that got twisted because of the trauma, because of the way your family dealt with things. And then if you don't talk about it, it turns into addictions and alcoholism and violence, because no one's talking about the root causes. So once, like, that's in a place, we actually talk about this stuff, not from an academic standpoint, but just purely feeling. If you don't even have to know your family's history, if you just know what was happening in your root country when your family left, not why they came
martial
here,
law.
why did they leave? Right. So the fear that you're feeling or the discomfort you're feeling isn't yours. It's just been handed down. So that means that you can, once you put your finger on these things, there's ways to release it. And we're just using art. I'm sure there's plenty of other ways, but I'm just using what I know, and that's making art and talking a lot about it. Like, even what today, what all of these women have done is they're releasing their pain by just, like, really being brave enough to come forward and having to practice and figure out what they're going to say. And it shifts things when you realize that you actually have value. And when you're authentic, you start finding kindred spirits. And then you have to release a lot of people. Like JillieLee can talk about that right now. You have to release people from your past because they're not on your side. You chose them with the old family patterns, but as you develop new patterns of positive, you start finding aligned people that it's really miraculous. And I'm really convinced about that now, because as an artist, I've been barely able to post in social media. I can't promote my art. I can't even make my art. Like, I did some abstract painting. I've done 3 paintings in 2 years. I used to do like 3 paintings in a month.
Wow.
But people are coming out of the woodwork. I'm in a gallery show in Berkeley in November, and she came after me, and I knew who she was, and I didn't know she'd like my work. There's a wine label, like I showed you, that Contador wine. She found me out of the blue on the internet. So it's a matter of starting to start claiming through your intuition. And that's like the intuitive collage I want to start you guys off with, is like really accessing what you're attracted to. What do you like? What has meaning to you? And when you make art out of it, you're honoring that, and you're saying, that's what's important to me. I don't care what anybody else thinks. And then you're around other people doing the same thing, and they love it too. So you start to admire, maybe that's not the right word, but you start to really know that you're honoring what has meaning to you. And you find the people that are aligned with that. Because you spend your time trying to please people who aren't aligned with you, you just, you're going to fail every time.
Thank you.
A waste of time, man. You got to stop that.
I think Lucy wants to talk. She had her hand raised.
Well, I was just going to say, you had brought up about vulnerability and being, that makes it very hard for people to come out and share their story or even to heal. And someone that brought up something I was going to mention earlier, I don't remember what person who shared had put up, someone had showed a clothesline and said this was airing dirty laundry.
That's
pause.
Pause.
Yes, that was such a huge thing for me, because most of us, most cultures, I'm learning across many cultures. I thought it was just, a thing in the South. You're raised in the South. What happens at home stays at home. You don't talk about your problems. You're raised. You don't share your business, and you're raised that way, to not reach out, to not share your feelings with anyone. So you grow up and you're so damaged, you're so broken, that the ideal of searching for help is just a foreign, abstract thought that when it finally does come around, you don't know how to even begin to process it.
And can I just thank you, Lucy, for sharing? And just one thing I want to say really quickly was, I totally respond to what you're saying, because for me, like art for me, it's medicine. It's not the only medicine, but it's a way to connect. And I want to share that. I haven't shared this maybe just with Cynthia, but I had talked to one of my nephews, and he had used meth since he's like 13 years old. And we were working out on that installation in front of my house, which it was all these rocks that my father had brought from the mountains, because we didn't have money. And so it was a way that he could make a fence, right? And my mom wanted to throw them out. And I said, no. When she passed, I'm like, let's create something to honor him. So when my sister was going through recovery during the pandemic, we would fight because there was a lot of things coming up, right, for all of us. But we would go out and work on that land together in the morning. And it's not a happy ever after. It's not like it's a magic wand. It's a lot of work, a lot of reopening old wounds, but also like with place. I think we need a place where it's like when you start cleaning stuff out, there has to be a space where the pus can come out and you can start cleaning it. And so it could start to heal. It's going to be scarred. It's going to be whatever, but it can heal. And so I'm not working with people who are actually like-minded. We're like-hearted in our heart. We all want the same things, but we have a lot of different perspectives. And so like when we start this, that's why we call this 7 generations coming home, because in the Native American tradition, the 7th generation is, if you can identify back, that's the generation that will heal the broken circle. So we have 7 generations on this land. And so you don't have to identify 7 generations. You can start right where you're at. And that's all these things, we have them inside of us already. We don't. So that's why I'm just, wherever you're at, and also to connect with us, because, we need to be vulnerable and share this. And I think we all need it. You maybe need to hear it, just like some point it's going to be Cece talking and sharing, and other people are going to say, I needed to hear that. It's going to be Lucy talking, so like, I just want to like say, maybe how can we find the way? We're not a big organization, all like, but we're here, and we can find the way together.
Because that's why I'm saying, if you can sign up on our mailing list, you're not going to get very many announcements, except when we're doing something, which is not that often. But at least I'd say 3 times a year, if not 4, we could convene like this. And yeah, I mean, nobody's paying us to really do this. I'm getting a little bit of grant money here and there, but this is pure love, and this is our life's path. So yeah, I don't even say, here, sign up for the next workshop. I don't even know when it's going to be, because like the last 3 weeks, I was like on an ocean liner. I was having so much vertigo, and I try to have humor around this because I know things are happening for a reason, but I just pretended I was on an ocean cruise, and the waters were a little choppy. But today I feel really good. And I think it's because I'm supposed to be doing this with you guys, the ones that are here now. So thank you, Paz. That's really what you're saying and you know, we need ideas too. And maybe how do we stay connected as a community? How do we talk to you? And how do we help you, but not get burnt out? And like, I worked till I got sick. I was trying to help everybody, but I was worried about if I didn't do enough, that I wouldn't belong, that I would be by myself, and I would disappear. That's when I first got really sick and I couldn't do anything. And that's what I was afraid was going to happen. But now I understand it's the exact opposite. I had to learn how to just trust and be still. And I am so grateful for the pandemic, because it stopped me. And I am grateful that I lost my vision, basically, because it stopped me in my tracks. And I had to rethink how I worked. And I had all the ladies that are here today that you heard from, they have been my rocks. I don't even know if they know it, but we stay in touch with a text thread, really meaningful text thread. And they have been, it's gonna make me cry. They have been such joy, because they keep having the epiphanies too. Instead of complaining about inconveniences, they keep exploring too. Like, what is this? What am I supposed to learn now? What is this bringing to me? So thank you guys so much. And I wanted to bring up one other thing, and I can't remember, it has something to do with what you were saying, Nestor, but there's another guy I follow. His name's Steve Nobel out of the UK. And he brought up a great point. He said, because he's from the UK, he's like, oh my God, every time I go to the US, he goes, I can't believe the work ethic, the Puritan work ethic in the US is killing you guys. He's like, you know, idle hands are the devil's work. I mean, he's naming all the things that I grew up hearing, you know, and you shouldn't just, if you take time off, you're lazy. If you don't work your ass off, you don't deserve anything. I forget, he wrote them down, but he actually has a book called Spiritual Entrepreneur that he just put out. And it says that there's a fifth dimension, a higher dimension work ethic, where it's about play and fun and authenticity. And that's what I want us to keep working for. And so a lot of the things that you beat yourself up with, just realize that was taught to you generationally. And especially if you're an immigrant to whatever country you're in, you know, your family's going to want you to stand up because they're scared. It's all fear. So you have to change that, because if you don't change that, you're just going to live in fear, and you're just going to be stuck. It will be stuck, but you don't have to.
Cynthia, I want.
Thank you.
It's 4:30, and
Yeah.
I think it's time to wrap up.
Yeah. So again, mailing list, you guys, that's one of the easiest ways to keep in contact with us. And you can email us at, or Ron, can you put up in the chat a place.sf?
Can I just say one thing in finishing, please? That this healing can only occur in a safe container, which Cynthia provides. She's listened to her internal wisdom and being guided by a greater force and really pushed through. And we're all here today because of Cynthia.
Thank you, Bronwyn.
I'd really like to acknowledge that and you know, just that gratitude that healing can happen and happen really well with community, but it needs this container.
Yeah.
A space, and it's not even a safe container, because if somebody's been so traumatized, they can't feel safe, but it's a container you can step into and be brave. We can be brave in a container, even though we don't feel safe. So Cynthia provides that and has trusted this greater guidance to show up and do that word. So from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure you all will agree with me, I just, you know, thank you, Cynthia. Thank you for being brave enough to give us this brave space.
Thank you, Bronwyn. Well, I should thank you too for helping me with my health too. She's a naturopath. And I wanted to thank you. Ahran bailed me out today with a lot of little mini crises and just showing up and being the fabulous you that took over kind of as a host. And the rest of you just have been filling my life so beautifully. Thank you. And thank you for the commitment you gave to creating the work here and to listening to each other. You know, listening to each other, giving little critiques, which could go very wrong, but it wasn't even an inkling. So it was lovely.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.
Bye, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon, Cece.
Thank you all.
To everyone. Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Bye, Crystal Rose.
Aloha, Cynthia.
Thank you,
Bonnie.
Bailan, for being here.
Yeah. So
Good work. Good work. I've got to go.
Thank you,
Great
Bronwyn.
work. It's just awe-inspiring.
Thank you.
What you're doing and the energy it's created.
Yeah.
It really is.
Thank you so
and the
much.
energy that what you've put out, the energy that can carry, and then
Thank
the
you.
ripples that go out from that.